am Barbara Tharp, and today I'm 69 years old, soon to be 70. And in 1968, I was a sophomore at Memphis State where I was studying psychology. I have changed my views a lot since then, and I had really had no political views at the time, and I knew based on reading the newspaper and watching TV that something was afoot, and I knew that the sanitation strike was going on and that Martin Luther King was coming. I knew that was a big deal, but I was in no way prepared to have it such a big deal when he was assassinated, because everybody, whether they knew anything or not at the time, was incredibly affected by it. I think that when he was killed here, and when the strike happened, that was the end of Memphis, Tennessee's innocence. It was really an ominous kind of time because no one had experienced anything like that. To have such a famous person be murdered in a city where there was so much strife going on right in the middle of it. I mean, who would have thought that Martin Luther King would have been assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee? I think that it was a very serious time, and people became more um, divided than ever. And I felt like I was in the middle of a newspaper article. There was a lot of sadness and a lot of anger and a lot of frustration on the part of the sanitation workers because they weren't getting a living wage. And what I remember was people walking around, but the sanitation workers, as they went on strike, had signs around their bodies that said, "I am a man." And those are the pictures that you see of those sanitation strikers. They have "I am a man." And I remember that happening very clearly and thinking, oh my goodness, why are they not making enough money? But they weren't. And that was, it was a very serious period of time. There was a curfew that was put on the entire city when Martin Luther King was assassinated. And as I said, I was a sophomore living in the dorm and not too politically observant. So I had an opportunity to have a date that night, and it was on a weeknight. I should have been studying. My roommate and I had a double date, and we went going downtown for some reason. So that was the craziest thing for us to do, was to go downtown. That was where all the action was happening. And so we got in the car and started driving downtown, and the place that was ordinarily going to be really, really busy was quiet. You could hear a pin drop, and we were the only people on the road. And at that point, I started feeling guilty that I'd actually gone out and broken curfew, because obviously, if there was a curfew, that nobody had ever experienced that in the city of Memphis. So that was very serious. And I all of a sudden had a change of heart and really felt like I should go home. However, I didn't. I continued with my date, but we came home early. I had an experience when I was in graduate school at Memphis State. But one of the main people in charge of the civil rights movement was someone named Russell Sugarman. And my family was just furious if they knew that when I went to graduate school, I befriended Russell Sugarman. And I, as a result, wanted to write a paper about Title VII of the civil rights movement. And so I consulted with him. And he said, I said, I want to write something about Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. And he said, what part? That's a really big section. And so we tossed it around, and I figured out what the subject would be. And I interviewed him on several different occasions. And he had a firsthand view of what was going on because he marched with everybody. So that was really an important part of me forming my views.